Good morning. Thank you for being here. Very excited. Um, opening week, school starting, finishing up a strong camp. So I know you'll have questions on Syracuse. I just really want to give thanks to the staff, particularly John Bowman and his team, Jerry and Joe. It's been a hot summer altogether, really. But they've done a great job with our team. Coach Shue and his staff, strength wise, has kept the guys healthy, hydrated, and there's been some hot days. And for us to get through it really unscathed, tribute to them. So back to the season and getting started. A lot of excitement. I'm really very optimistic with the team, the talent that we have, the leadership. They're going to put a great product that our fan base is going to be proud of. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Eric Dick with the F Messenger. Coach, we only spoke to you once throughout summer camp so far. Just coming into week one, do you have any update on the health of the team? Just kind of overall, how's everyone looking? Is everyone fully healthy going into week one?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. 2 weeks ago, we were battered and bruised. Nothing serious that required a surgery, but some soft tissue things. I think normal. You could say normal. Bumps and bruises that you have going through camp. We pushed the guys very hard. Probably, if you count just the number of live reps, we're probably a few more live reps this fall camp than last year's, just with the amount of experience 2 years ago versus now. So we pushed them a little bit harder, but we're getting through that. I'll know a lot more at today's practice with who's returning, coming off soft tissue. But I'm not. I know that we'll get majority of all the guys back in the coming weeks if we don't have them back today.
Grant Kiefer, WIUB Public Media. We talked over the offseason during media day about just how deep this running back room is as camp's kind of coming to an end here with real game action this weekend. What do you project from your eyes and how and who's going to be out there, who's not?
I think I'm sure Sarah, if she has not, she'll release our too deep, but it is a deep room. I think you could see up to 4 guys at any given time. Obviously with Ricky coming off the bowl game, his experience, Trey, a little bit bigger. He has had a really good fall camp. Joined us and graduated from Northwestern in March, and joined us there for the end part of spring practice. And so those 2 guys will, I don't want to say get the majority of it, but Nolan is a returner. He is a proven player that's played a lot of reps for us, scored touchdowns for us. And then I'm going to shout out to Duncan Bruin. Has had a early enrollee, one of the grade 8 guys, has had a fall camp. Very explosive. I expect all 4 of those guys to be major contributors on special teams, and particularly with Duncan's speed, and I just feel like that the room is they're talented, and it's exciting.
Coach, obviously, going into this week, you're going up, even though Syracuse has kind of had their troubles in the past, you're still going up against a Power 5 program on the road. And then especially with having all these guys in the locker room who just did that last year with beating a Power 5 program, what's the confidence level inside the locker room?
Yeah, Syracuse, they've got really a good nucleus back. Obviously with Coach Brown coming on and new staff, he's put together quite a staff. Going through the summer, I've had a little bit more time to maybe read a few more bios than I normally do. When you're going week to week, you don't really dive into the bios. But on Syracuse, I'll start their defensively. I think they returned 5, but when you factor in the portal numbers, they're up to 9. Offensively, they return, I think 5, and then the portal guys that are starting, it's up to 10. So you're looking at, almost 20 returner guys. If you count the transfers that are starting for them. Back on the defense, let's see, I wrote it down. I have my notes here. There's 3 or 4 guys that started and played against us in 2021 when they played here at Peyton Stadium. The corner has moved to safety, but he had a breakout game against us. I think he was the ACC Player of the Week after our game in 2021. He's returns, middle linebacker. So they've helped themselves. I am embarrassed to say that I don't know the gentleman's name, but the DB, Devin Grant, is that right? Devin Grant from Buffalo. We know a lot about him. He's a great player. Sideline to sideline as a transfer guy in. They're playing at corner. That's a talented young man. Offensively, starts with the quarterback. We all know he's familiar to this area. He's an all Big Ten performer. I think both outside receivers are transfer guys. They returned 3 starters up front, and both tackles are transfer guys. One of them was an All-American. The tight end led the country in yards or receptions, or maybe both. Great player. I mean, up front in the O-line, they're going to be probably one of the biggest in my time, 20 years. I mean, they're going to average over 6'5" and be of 320 pounds. And we're going to, our starting D-line is going to be 6'2" and change in the 70s probably. So we're going to be at a huge size disadvantage facing that offensive line, and especially with the size of their tight ends. So facing Syracuse, group of 5 or Power 5 school, Power 4, I'm sorry. And I guess it's Power 4 now. That's a huge challenge. We fear, I always say, we fear none, respect all. But we have our hands full. And Coach Brown's done a really good job. I'm really impressed with the film that we're studying with their offense. I think is a great pickup back on the quarterback, McCord kid. The offense coordinator, I wrote his name down because he's done a great job. Give me 1 second. Jeff Nixon, I think is the OC. Read his bio. At Baylor, the last time he called it, they were top 10, 15 in basically every category in offense. Do a great job. We've studied film from there. I mean, he's got a ton of experience in the NFL, and the McCord kid really fits what he likes to do. They're going to put us in a lot of run RPO conflicts because the McCord kid he can create with his feet, and they've got the weapons on the perimeter and especially at tight end to take full advantage of his skill set. So back to Coach Brown and the staff he's put together. He's done a real nice job. And again, they return a lot of experience on both sides of the ball. So it'll be a huge challenge for us.
And kind of just following up on that experience, obviously, what it's like to kind of have that rock in the middle of the defense to kind of lead everything. That's what Marlo Wax is for them. So just offensively, what do you guys kind of have to try to do to try to limit sideline backer like that?
We're going to have to try to do our best to establish a run game. We don't want to get in that game with those guys and be one-dimensional. All right. And so first and foremost, that'll be one of the top priorities. Obviously, if you turn the ball over, that's going to cause more problems. And then I think it's on defense. You try to limit the explosives. Again, we're going to be in some run pass conflicts with them. We got to limit. We got to try to tackle well. As a head coach, coming, the first game, you're worried about, watching some of the games this past weekend, some of the foolish penalties, some shot clock issues, missed tackles in space because you do tackling circuits, you work on tackling, but you don't go live, a whole lot with how the rules are set up, and then it's a good thing. So as a head coach, you're worried about some of those things, and I just think that the longer I've been in this, having older guys on your roster, which we got a fair nucleus of older guys. I think in our at least in our starting lineup that Sarah's, if she's not released that already, we have, I think, 2 or 3 transfers on each side of the ball. Offense and defense, and actually one on specialist. Our long snapper is a transfer. So we're in the portal, we're in the transfer market, but not to the extent maybe at Syracuse as far as off numbers. as far as in the starting lineup. So.
You mentioned their tight end, one of the best in the
Yeah.
country, and your linebacker core, obviously a lot of talent there. How do you necessarily attack such an excellent receiving threat like that?
Well, again, I'm going to flip the script here. We can't be one dimensional, all right, and so we're going to have to try to keep stop the run and try to make them some one dimensional, and we were able to do that in a lot of games last year, all right, and it was one of the big reasons for our success. So I think that if the running game opens up for them, that's where you get some of the explosive play action things. So we'll have to limit the running game, and again with the guy, I've always referenced the size difference, and the running back's a returner. I think he was all league in the ACC last year, if I remember correctly. So it'll be a huge challenge, but playing multiple things. Their quarterback, again, a lot of experience from Ohio State. He's in a new system. Try to give him some different looks and keep him, where he doesn't know what we're in the back end. I think that will help a little bit, but ultimately the run game and where they just can't, when they need to get, a first down, they can just turn around and hand it off. This will be the key.
With the change at the helm on the defensive side with new people shuffling in, what's their confidence level heading into?
Well, that was a strength. And just looking at the numbers last year, Syracuse defense, and they're multiple. Where Coach came from, at Georgia, and his staff is sprinkled with Georgia people he knows. I think both they have co-coordinators on defense. Both those guys were together at Texas A&M. They know each other. He's got, and then looking at some of the assistant coaches came from Georgia with him. So there's a lot of familiarities, and with what they return, it'll be a challenge. But I think from a scheme standpoint, for Ohio versus Syracuse, they're multiple, and they're going to cause our offensive line with 4 down odd. And then they get into the 3rd down stuff. We'll have to be sharp with knowing where the middle linebacker is, and hopefully we can just do our best to keep them off balance.
With Parker Navarro, I mean, his first start since the bowl game, well, I guess he wouldn't have a lot in between, but with his inexperience as a starter, have you had any conversations with him throughout the week?
Yeah, I tell you, had several conversations with Parker, and the thing that about Parker, he has really prepared well. All right, and I couldn't be prouder of what he's gone through. He's a true prepared like a champion, prepared like a great teammate, and I base it off of this. The things that he got done in preparation when Curtis was here. All right. A lot of guys would have just like, hey, I'm not going to probably play. And Curtis is, player of the year. But he prepared like a great teammate, like a true champion. CJ's in the room. He MVP of the Arizona Bowl, but you couldn't tell by Parker's preparation. All right. That's the number one thing that sticks out in my mind. He is prepared like a professional through all that. Okay. It's his time. He's tough. He's humble. He's hungry. He can create with his feet. He just doesn't have the number of reps that Curtis did going into last year. He doesn't have the number of game reps, I should say. All right. Now, you mentioned it. The bowl game, took care of the ball. Good on 3rd down. Gave us a dimension on offense that we hadn't had with just using the quarterback a little bit more. All right. So I'm excited for him. We've talked about a lot of things, Parker, since the spring, but his leadership has really shown and has really made an impact on the football team for us to get to this point. And I'm excited for him.
Well, Parker Navarro kind of a little more on the inexperienced side, kind of still working through on the offensive line, having someone like Parker Chitsworth as their kind of a veteran guy on that line. How important is that aspect, especially with kind of easing the quarterback into the offense?
I think it's not to repeat another long answer on Parker Tisworth versus Parker Navarro, but it's the same. Other than Parker's got the game experience and his leadership. Parker Tisworth up front makes all the calls, handles our protections, and has just done a really good job. And really, in his whole career here, he's battled through that surgery in the off season, and we've been smart with him as far as how we practice him. I mean, he's a veteran, and some of your veterans that got 1,500 to 2,000 game reps, which he does. You practice them a little bit differently, and be smart with them. It's like preseason NFL. You don't see the starting a lot of the starters out there. They use the games to evaluate the other players, and Parker Tisworth's position is one of those that we did that with. So yeah.
It's heard it's been a good camp in terms of the QB2 battle. Jacob Winters had a good camp. What can you see?
Yeah, I think really he and Nick both have had really good camps, and but Jacob has, again, I think he learned from the best from watching Parker how he prepared, and not that Jacobs didn't have a chance to win the job, but he saw Parker and how his preparation, notes every day, all the things I said, all right, and I think Jacob has. That's great for him to see. That's how he's preparing now is the message, and because he's seen a guy go through it. And I think that the things that he's doing now after watching Parker is helping him. It's helped him. He had a good spring. Okay. And he's had a good fall camp. So I like where he's at right now. And he's got a future for the Bobcats for sure.
Overall, what's the message you're going to instill this week for the team?
Really good question. Really, they're excited. They are prepared well. I thought we had three really good practices last week. All right. Today, I'll find out a little bit more. It's first day of school. It's gonna be 100 degrees every day this week. And it's the first week of school. Parking. I mean, right? Yeah. I mean, to find a place to park, the cafeteria, the lines are longer. It takes 25 minutes to get to class now. We had them out going through campus yesterday to make sure they knew where the buildings were. And got a lot of new faces, right? And so, but it's time for game week to get here. We could practice another month and probably not get any better. We need to play a game. We need to see where we're at. All right. We need to get out there with officials and lay it on the line for each other and see where we're at. Because you can only make so many strides with practice. So we welcome the game week, but I'm going to find out, on the leadership of the team today. Because again, like I said, with school and everything and the heat, but I know the guys. I know they're going to come ready to go and be excited.
You did this last year, but you're doing it again this year. You're going on the road to get it
Yeah.
started. Does that make it easier? Does it make any difference at all?
Yeah. I actually thought about that driving this morning. 2 years ago, we were, at home against FAU. I think it was the first game. And then, of course, obviously week 0. And, we wouldn't really change anything. But I will say this to that, we're going to Syracuse, and it's, again, a huge challenge, which I said, but it's indoors. Like last year, we were going to California and outdoors, and then we had to go to FAU at some point in time, and it's out, And so there was a lot of time and dialogue on preparation for the outdoors, just from the elements. The dome's going to bring it. It's going to be louder indoors than it is outdoors, but you're not battling, some of the things that you battle in California and Florida, as far as the heat index and things like that, the hydration. So.
If this has been asked, I apologize. When I spoke to wide receiver room, you got a lot of guys there that I think are going to give you some minutes. Are you using snap? What do you like?
Yeah, I think Coach Allen has joined us at mid-year. He's done a fabulous job, and he's really upped those guys' games as far as knowledge of the offense, where to be, certain coverages. It's really been a great fit with Coach Smith, who's now calling the plays. But just from the talent level, I'll start with probably, Coleman. Owen, I think is on track to be a really good, solid receiver for us. Is going to be I think has a chance to be a dynamic returner for us. A knowledge of the offense, he's picked it up very, very well. Highly intelligent. He's a 4.0. I mean, he knows zone versus man, and it's got a really, really unique skill set when you combine the return piece of that. Chase Hendricks started for us in the bowl game. Rodney Speed. Rodney Harris. Yeah, thank you, Sarah. So I apologize. Yeah, I almost said Rodney Matthews. Okay, but Speed started for us in a bowl game. Got some really good reps in there. Had a good spring. Will be in the game. He's 6'2" and change, and will surprise you with his ability to stretch the field vertically and can go up and high point the ball. And he's a strong looking guy too. And let's see, I talked about Chase a little bit. Max is coming on. Has had a good fall camp. Caden Hurst, true freshman. Caleb Gossett. There'll be 7 to 8 guys that will play in this first game at receiver.